The Battle of Badr, which took place in 624 AD, was a significant event in the early history of Islam. It marked the first major military engagement between a fledgling group of Muslims led by Prophet Muhammad and the powerful Quraysh tribe of Mecca. At the time, Muhammad and his followers faced persecution and harassment from the Quraysh leaders due to their opposition to the traditional polytheistic beliefs of the Meccans. Muhammad had preached the message of Islam, emphasizing monotheism and moral responsibility to the people of Mecca, but his message was initially disregarded and mocked by many. Despite facing persecution, Muhammad's message began to gain converts, and some of the tribes at Yathrib, later known as Medina, invited the Muslims to seek shelter and teach them about Islam. Muhammad and his followers, known as the Muhajirun, fled from Mecca to Medina in what became known as the Hijra migration in 622 AD. In Medina, Muhammad continued to face opposition from the Quraysh, and tensions escalated between the two groups. The Quraysh, led by Abu Sufyan, organized a trade caravan bound for Syria, and the Muslims saw an opportunity to intercept it and weaken the Quraysh economically. However, the caravan managed to avoid the Muslim ambush. Upon receiving news of the caravan's safety, Abu Sufyan realized that Muhammad and his followers were likely to pursue him. He sent messengers to Mecca, exaggerating the threat and calling for reinforcements. The Quraysh, fearing the loss of their wealth and prestige, mobilized a force of around 1,300 men and marched towards Medina. Meanwhile, Muhammad and his approximately 313 Muslim fighters set up camp in the valley of Badr, strategically positioning themselves on elevated ground. Muhammad's forces were primarily infantry, with minimal cavalry support, while the Quraysh had a larger force with more cavalry and camels. As the battle began, Muhammad's forces formed three lines along the narrowest point of the valley. They employed tactics such as filling in wells near the Quraysh camp to create a logistical dilemma for the enemy. The Muslims also benefited from the elevated ground, which allowed them to observe enemy movements and ensured quicker mobility on the dried soil. Initially, the Quraysh attempted to break the Muslim lines, but the Muslims held their ground and repelled the attacks. Several individual duels took place, with notable encounters between Hamza, Ali, and prominent Quraysh warriors. Despite initial setbacks, the Muslims managed to maintain their formation and support each other. The battle reached a stalemate, and exhaustion set in among both sides. Muhammad, surrounded by his closest companions, stood at the front lines and sent reinforcements to prevent any breakthroughs. Eventually, the Muslims gained the upper hand, and the Quraysh forces began to retreat. The Battle of Badr resulted in a decisive victory for the Muslims. They captured a significant number of Quraysh prisoners, including some of their leaders, while sustaining fewer casualties themselves. The battle boosted the morale of the Muslim community and solidified their position in Medina. The Battle of Badr holds great significance in Islamic history, as it marked the first major military success for the Muslims against a powerful enemy. It demonstrated the strength of their faith, unity, and strategic acumen. This victory also paved the way for subsequent military campaigns and the eventual expansion of the Islamic religion and culture across the Arabian Peninsula and beyond. At that moment, Muhammad took a handful of sand, raised it to the sky, and prayed for divine intervention. He threw the sand towards the Quraysh, and a strong wind blew it directly into their faces, blinding them momentarily. Seizing the opportunity, the Muslim forces launched a counterattack. With renewed vigor and determination, the Muslims fought back, pushing the Meccans into disarray. Muhammad, leading from the front, displayed incredible bravery and skill in combat, inspiring his followers to fight fiercely. The Meccans, caught off guard by the sudden turn of events, struggled to regain their composure. The battle raged on, with both sides engaged in intense hand-to-hand combat. Despite being outnumbered, the Muslims fought with unwavering faith and unity. They pressed forward, striking at the heart of the Quraysh forces. The Meccans, disoriented and demoralized, began to retreat. In the chaos of the battlefield, Muhammad's strategy proved successful. The Muslim cavalry, led by Ali, pursued the fleeing Meccans, inflicting heavy casualties and capturing prisoners. Among the captives was Abu Sufyan, the leader of the Quraysh caravan that had initially evaded the Muslims. The Battle of Badr marked a significant turning point in the early history of Islam. It was a clear, resounding victory for the Muslims and a clear demonstration of the divine support they believed they had. The battle solidified Muhammad's leadership and boosted the morale of his followers. It also sent a powerful message to the Quraysh and other tribes in the region that the Muslims were a force to be reckoned with.